And we are live. I'm Adam. This is Highly Articulated, and we have got a packed episode today, just talking about GI Joe. So we're going to talk about GI Joe pretty much the whole time, between the Skystriker and all the reveals, and just sort of a bunch of stuff that's going on. And then we're going to touch a little bit on some SH figure art stuff. So stay tuned for that. That'll be towards the end, and then we'll kind of probably wrap up after that. I am joined today by none other than Austin. Average Guy Collects. How's it going, my friend?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. I'm as I mentioned to you before we started, I'm in the midst of a very frustrating internet problem, network issues. I'm running all of this through my cellular data off of my phone. If it drops, take the ball and run with it, and I'll try to get back on. So I'll just put that out there that I had some technical issues when I did my Skystriker unboxing, but thankfully kind of made it through it eventually. But man, oh man, there's nothing more modern first world problem than getting angry that I can't be on the internet all day.
Yep.
And that I can't live stream to sort of all corners of the world about toys and my complaints about not being able to get certain toys. Man, we're just such spoiled, entitled brats, really, when it comes down to it. But anyway, life goes on. These are certainly issues that I will recover from, whether that's a new router or sort of a change in internet provider or whatever. We shall see. Let's check in with people in the chat, and then we will go over our pickups. So AI Collectibles was first. He says, "Yo, Joe, let's go." My buddy's Customs is here. Smiler67, Tyler is hanging out, saying if I paid him to watch the live shows, he could buy more Joes. If I could afford to pay people to watch my live streams, I probably wouldn't be doing them. Larry says, hey. Masterversal Toy Hunter Eldor, all the way from Eternia, says hello. Jeremy, what's going on, my friend? Facebook user says, have a meltdown live on air. No, it's not that big of a problem. I'm not it's like I said, I'm mature enough to recognize that this is not a real problem. This is an inconvenience to my modern life, but certainly not a problem. My family is healthy, and sometimes happy, so I don't have anything. I mean, speaking of meltdowns, my 3-year-old is having a meltdown because she doesn't want to clean her room. That's a real problem for a 3-year-old.
I feel that.
Masterversal's greeting everybody in the comments. Good to see everybody hanging out and getting along. That's always good as well. Should we get into pickups, Austin?
Sure.
How many you got? You got a couple? You got a lot? Should I go first? You saw the
I got 3 notable ones. Well, 4 notable ones to show off.
Let's go back and forth. We'll do one at a time. I'll start. Yeah,
all right.
I'll start. I think I have a couple more. So I got them and I already opened them. I got a couple of the latest wave, the female wave of Action Force. I got a couple Steel Brigade. I'm not going deep into Action Force, but I'm getting Steel Brigades to represent my family, basically, so that the nameless, faceless troopers, where you can kind of create your own, are being represented by those figures. So I got those open and unboxed. Those are they're very nice. They're very nice. They did require a nice hot bath to loosen up the joints, but the sort of fit and form of these is very nice. Um, what do you got? What's your first pickup there?
The first thing, I'm not going to grab it because I have it like perfectly where I want to pose, but you can see
Yep.
it. Is the Hammond Collection T-Rex there?
Hold on.
Found
Let me see.
that on clearance at Walmart. Mind you, clearance was still like over $50, but I finally caved. I finally bought it. I mean, even just for some background photo shoots, it would be a cool thing to
Hmm.
have.
Hmm.
It's incredible.
Is that the one that has like this sort of stretchy mount? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably. I mean, I know it made a lot of figures top 5 of figures of 2022. I can see
Hmm.
why. Like
Hmm.
for something you can just find at Walmart is amazing.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's a shelf killer. It's taking up 2 rows on that little step right there. But the
Hmm.
fact that it can even pose to stand on those 2 rows is really cool.
Um, when they did the super colossal T-Rex, which is like twice the size of that thing, I wanted to pick that up, but it was 100% like, of all the space killers,
Yeah.
I can justify some. I can justify a Skystriker because it's iconic, and I can justify a his tank, or a party wagon or something like that. A one-off T-Rex just because it's really cool, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't pull the trigger. Um, but yeah, they absolutely look awesome. Um, Next up for me, I got my Sergeant Slaughter.
Nice.
Finally, they kind of arrived right before I went away, so I didn't get them. I didn't get them before I went away. But that's okay. Like I've always said, I'm not somebody that sort of needs to get everything first. I'm not rushing to like get a review out or anything like that. And on top of that, forgive me for saying this if you're a massive Sergeant Slaughter fan, but it was never my favorite. So this was not my most anticipated figure by any stretch, but I am very happy to have him because um, I got 2 of these actually, and one is going to be put towards a custom that I've been working on. It feels like forever, and I also got 2 of them because the little figure that he comes with, which comes in a package, I want one mint on card and one to open. But then somebody said to me, didn't you know that it's even collector friendly packaging on that tiny figure? And I was like, well, I guess I didn't need to. But there we are. That's I got 2. So what do you got up next?
Next, I got the reissue of the Mafex Psylocke.
That is a
Um,
figure.
yeah, it's really cool. Like, it's not Mafex's best figure by any means, but like it's one of their better female figures. It's an X-Men figure. It's Psylocke. It's awesome. Tons of accessories. With the reissue, they added shading to the hair, so they
Nice.
improved it.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion, a lot of people don't like the shading. They think it's too dark. But whatever. I think it looks great. Um, yeah, straight from Japan. That was a nice surprise. It was one of those ones where people started posting in groups, "Oh my god, there's a reissue! Go get
Yeah.
it!" And then I saw that post an hour later. It was already being sold out everywhere, and then a
Mhm.
lot of these places got like a second wave of stock in, so I hopped on that. And here we are.
Where'd you end up picking it up from? Do you know? Do you remember?
I got like 5 go tos. I think I just
Yeah.
went,
Yeah.
but it was either Hobby Link Japan or Hobby Search. I think it was Hobby Search.
Okay. Okay. Just I was more curious than anything. That's yeah, there's so many of them. When we get to the figure arts, we might sort of circle back
Oh,
to
on a
that.
side note, they're offering Japan Post on these websites now,
Yep.
and so I
EMS or ESM or
EMS,
whatever.
yeah. So I went with that. This is like the second or I think it's the third time I've gone with that.
Yep.
Still super quick. Only took a week,
Yep.
and again, like directly from Japan. That's crazy. No duty fee. I dodged the duty fee. So
You just had the one figure, is that right?
just the one figure. So so far from my experiments, one figure, no duty fee. Two figures,
Yeah,
duty fee.
I think it's because I think the threshold is like $200 Canadian.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm certainly not ordering figures over $200 each. So yeah, I think if you get one, it's typically pretty. But then again, even if you do get dinged, you're basically just paying the GST, and
Yeah.
because it's EMS, which is their national postal service, it arrives through Canada Post,
Yeah.
which means that the agreement with all those national mail services is that I think Canada Post charges like $8 like processing fee, which to me, a lot of times when you see these figures, they're you're buying it in yen, so it's effectively kind of equivalent to Canadian dollar, which means they're generally cheaper. Then you pay the shipping. I don't mind paying the tax and a little an $8 fee or whatever it is,
Yeah.
if it means that I can get a figure that I couldn't get it anywhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike at eCollectibles is always my go-to guy, but I usually I'll message him when a figure comes out and I'll be like, "Can you get this?" And if his answer is no, then I go Japan, then Spain, then North America, then it's sort of like. But we'll touch on that with the figure art stuff too, because we were already talking about that before we jumped on. Before we go any further, I'm just gonna check in with the comments. Ostradamus Toys says that T-Rex is awesome. As he is prone to saying. Facebook user says you can hang Skystriker from the ceiling. I'm thinking about that, but I love the display base as well. It's not like my Skystriker is not going to remain on a shelf, at least on one of these ones behind me. I've got a couple options for where to put it, but we'll get into that. It was AI that said that the little figure comes in a little resealable package, which is genius. I mean, why wouldn't it? Of course it will. But now I'll have a spare, so I don't need to open it that one. So Oz says no need to be first. People are going to come and watch your review if they like how you do it, even if they have seen a few reviews. Fair enough. I think that's and my stuff too, because I just do it live. I think sometimes people just come to hang out. People will log in to watch, to hang out, chat. We usually end up going off on tangents and don't always talk about the thing that I'm unboxing anyway. Larry says Ami Ami is a great site for stuff overseas. I've used Anime Export as my sort of primary, and then Hobby Genki is my primary, and Anime Export as my secondary / let's check what they've gotten in, because they actually take in figures from other collectors in Japan and resell them. So every once in a while a figure pops up that's like a used, or I don't think they're ever used. I think they're
not sealed or
yeah, and I honestly don't care. I'm fine with that. Chris from the Full Force podcast says sup indeed. Jay, I'm not reading that comment. I see what you're trying to do there. And we're caught up, so we'll move on. Next, I got... I know it's Jay. Next up, I got... I wasn't happy just getting the armored Last Ronin, so I thought, why not get the accessory pack that comes with the unarmored as well, or as I like to call them, the topped and the topless. Very, very excited to get these guys unboxed. I don't know. There's so much good stuff in this pile. I'm actually sort of showing my reveals in sort of order of how excited I am to open them. And so it's going to be hard for me to not do all of these unboxings like this week, but the internet might make that decision for me. But stay tuned. I'm definitely going to open both of these live at some point in the next couple weeks, because I can't wait. They're great figures. Last Ronin was awesome. The new book is out. Last Ronin Lost Years. Issue 1 came out, I think a week ago or whatever it was. And man, it picks up right where Last Ronin left off, in a weird way. Like, obviously not. If you've read Last Ronin, you kind of know why it wouldn't. But it does anyway. If you're into Ninja Turtle comics and you haven't yet, Lost Years is going to be a great it's going to be a great comic book. Um, Chris says I'm so far behind on my TMNT comics. I don't know if you read Last Ronin yet. If you haven't, just jump in there. Last Ronin was like 5 issues, so it's not a lot of time commitment. You can read it in an afternoon kind of thing, and then get into Lost Years, because it's kind of a different. Like, it doesn't feel like it's the same timeline. It doesn't feel like it's like you don't have to have a background in sort of the current IDW stuff to jump in to Last Ronin, and then Lost Years. You could jump into Lost Years too, I think, if you hadn't even read Last Ronin. But Last Ronin is so good. It's so good. AI said they are my figures of the year, which is part of the reason that I got them. I think enabler points would go to you for sure, AI. Chris says last one was just as the mutagen was released in the city, and it all went dystopian. Oh, okay, yeah. My buddy's custom says I've read the first 3 issues of Last Ronin and I have all of them up to date, and so far it's so amazing. Yeah, it really is. Tyler says Last Ronin trade paperback isn't out. It's perfect for those who want to jump in, or is out. The paperback is out. I bought the hardback, and I hate comics in hardback, but that's all I could get. I got about an issue and a half into the 5, and then I was like, I'm going to get the floppies. I can't handle it. I can't read it like that. I can't. I know that a lot of people like hardcover comics for like the longevity, because hardbacks just last longer. They tend to sort of hold up better. But it's so weird to me to read a comic with a hard back, because you can't get, like, the art goes right to the spine. You know what I mean? You can never, unless you crack the spine, which I refuse to do. As somebody that loves books as well, I my books never get like more than 90 degrees open. That's just the way that it is. Because I hate creases in a paperback spine, and I hate broken spine on a hardcover. So I had to go get the floppies, and I was playing catch up, so it was not that easy. I did manage to get them at a very good price though, so I'm pretty happy. My buddy's custom says the comics definitely makes me want the NECA figures more, and that's absolutely what happened with me. I saw them. I was looking at them from afar, thinking like that's a pretty cool design. It sort of made me read the comic book, because why not? And then the comic book sort of pushed me with a little help from AI. But they're great. Like, the comic books are fantastic, and these figures are fantastic. Like, they're sort of, figure of the year for people, and like comic book of the year for other people. Depending on what list you're making, whether you're doing a toy list or a comic book list. Chris says it's my mission to get caught up this year. That's a good mission. And because it's sort of not unattainable. It's not like, oh, I want to collect all the prototype figures of the 1982 straight arm GI Joe figures. All right, what's your next one, Austin? That was a long a long way through that one.
Next one is a bit of a fun one for me, because I think this is my first ever third-party figure, and that is the V Toys. They call it the V Toys Return of the King, which is it's obviously Superman, but it's based on his Kingdom Come appearance, which to this day is still my favorite comic book story. I love Kingdom Come; it's incredible, especially with the Alex Ross art. Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. The figure itself is it's good. Like, it's a good solid figure. It's nothing amazing in terms of cosmetics. It's fantastic.
Soft goods,
floppy cape though, which I would have preferred a wired cape, but in terms of just going on the shelf, it looks great. But in terms of doing any kind of flight poses, you can't do too much. Accessories were a little lacking. It's just hands, no alternate head or anything. But it looks and feels awesome. Like, this is a solid Superman figure, and if anyone can get their hands on it, I definitely recommend it.
Now, did you see? This goes back a few weeks. This is how good at the being, notable and newsworthy we are. Did you see that Clark Kent figure that they're doing?
No, I didn't.
And I don't know the brand, but it kept popping up. It's one of those third party ones again, and I don't
Yeah,
think it's called Clark Kent. I think it's called like Newsman Superhero or it's like
yeah.
whatever. They come up with these ridiculous names. But it's a 112 scale, full head to toe soft goods Clark Kent, but then like the jacket and the shirt opens and he has like a Superman outfit
Oh,
underneath
cool.
it. I haven't seen like the full. I haven't seen the full sort of Superman, but I mean to me, but the soft goods, like really what you're getting there is the 112 soft goods for
Yeah.
Clark Kent, and it looks stunning.
Oh, I bet.
Um, and there's no way I'm going to be able to find it. Um, so I won't spend too much time trying to. Um, I will very quickly see if an image pops up, and if it does, I'll try to share it. But um, how does that scale with other stuff? I
Well,
know that.
if it's rated with my Mezco collection, like
Okay,
if someone didn't know it wasn't a Mezco figure, they wouldn't be able to go point it out.
right.
So in terms of scale and quality, it fits right in. The only thing that would make it stand out is, and again, this isn't like a knock on the figure. I actually really like this. Is that the S is like a rubbery plastic as
Hmm.
opposed to just a stitching. Like it's stitched on, but usually Mezco goes for like an actual fabric if it goes on. This is a little separate piece that sits on top. And so, but again, unless you know Mezco extremely well, you're not going to be able to point it out and go, "Oh, that's not the Mezco figure."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I did manage to find it surprisingly quickly. So let me very slowly and clumsily. Um, Jeez. With I don't know what happened with StreamYard, but there was like um it used to be that I could just click a tab and it would give me a little button that said switch to this tab, but now I have to like manually do it. Anyway, Protector of Metropolis. So this is a 112 scale suit, jacket, hat, and he's got the Superman outfit underneath. Um I'm not going to buy it because I wouldn't know where to put it. I don't know what
Yeah.
shelf it would go on. And I've said before, like I tend to go deeper into lines than sort of have one-offs. But I think for
Mm.
anybody that's like a one-off kind of collector that loves Superman, and I mean it comes with such cool stuff. Like
Yeah,
I'll
that's
just
awesome.
quickly highlight, like it comes with a newspaper. This is Bruce Wayne murdered. Like, and he's got his press pass, he's got his little camera, he's got a briefcase. Like even the shoes look shaded properly, and I'm a big fan of like leather dress shoes. Believe it or not, I'm wearing a baseball cap and a t-shirt, but if you could see my closet, I could prove it. But I mean, it just looks phenomenal. Like that suit looks great. The tie looks like it's tied. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't just look like they kind of pinned something together and threw something together. Um, yeah, just looks fantastic. I don't know much more detail wise about that, but it looks absolutely fantastic. There's just so much cool stuff coming out.
Hmm.
There's too much cool stuff coming out. Um, which I always sort of present it as this huge problem, but again, such a first world problem, and I tend to not have FOMO, so I don't actually, I'm not crying myself to sleep that I can't get that figure or anything.
I do.
Because I know you do. That's why I have so many Storm collectibles
Oh
figures.
my lord! I didn't even show off the stuff I got from Ray. You can see the Chun Li there, but then there's a whole
Mm-hmm.
shelf beside her.
Next up, I've got. I This is no surprise to anybody that's tuned in before. The 3-pack of Jubilee, Forge, and Storm. The first of the 2 3-packs. Of course, I already have the Wolverine. I am really excited about this one. Um, I don't know why one got released and the other one hasn't yet.
Yeah,
It
it's
seems
really
like a
weird.
weird thing. I don't know if it's down to um, tooling. That's the only thing that I could think. Maybe there's tooling in this that they need for those other ones, so they couldn't make them all at the same time. That was really my only guess as to why
Yeah.
we got one of the 3 packs and not the other. Um, but they look fantastic, and I'm very, very excited to have another version of all these characters, and the blue and yellow specifically. But I'm hoping that the Jubilee head sculpt and the Storm head sculpt are different enough that I don't feel like I've just bought the same like
Yeah.
blank box with like new head or the same heads. You know what I mean? Because I could have part swapped that. But the new the new bucks look great. You've got, at least on the picture, and there's been issues with this, but stay tuned for the opening unboxing of this, because we might find out more. But from the picture, it looks as though Storm has got double jointed elbows and knees, pinless.
Yep.
And it looks like Jubilee's got pinned double jointed elbows and knees.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, which is weird. If I'm being perfectly honest, I don't mind pins, especially in a scenario like this where the pins are the same color on both sides. It bothers me more with like a Spider-Man where like the pin's red on one side and then it should be blue on the other, but it's not. But I don't really mind. Forge looks to be new because he looks to be pinless.
The only time where, besides the Spider-Man example, where pins really bother me is if they'll go like pinless knees but pinned elbows. I'm like, just go one way or the other. Don't go half and half.
Yeah, that's annoying. Yeah, because that's the thing, right? I think at this point it's like we know that there's pinless versions of just about every size buck, so you're kind of like, it's just annoying knowing that they could have, if they maybe waited for it to make it into the queue. Like I said, where they didn't need the figures. I think that's why the Bucky Cat body still keeps getting used, is because that mold, they can put that mold in with every wave and just keep using it. I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. I don't think it's that bad though either. I'm not as particular as a lot of people about, the buck they use or whatever, whether it's a reuse. I mean, I'll get into it more when I do the unboxing, but like it actually has the art from 275 on the one side, which is like, it's just so good. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one. The paint apps are gonna be not that great. The figures are gonna be pretty bland, and I'm gonna be super, super pumped to get man, like I've said it before, like I'm just such a mark for this stuff because well, wait for the next one, because the next one is really gonna put some people over the edge. I'm just excited that these toys even exist, because these are the toys that I dreamed of and wanted as a kid. And it's if I couldn't afford them, or if I had an issue with them, I'd stop buying them. But like, unfortunately, I'm still buying them. So whatever, life goes on. Facebook user says DC is a 99% easy pass. That's kind of how I feel too. Like, so far I've avoided DC, and it's not because I dislike DC. It's just because I prefer Marvel, and among other things. And so it's been pretty easy because there hasn't been the closest I've come is the Mafex Death of Superman figures. But then again, because of the price and because I've already missed a couple of them, I'd be playing catch up and paying aftermarket. So it's like, it's pretty easy to stay away from it. Facebook user also says pins didn't bother me until they started pinless. Exactly. 5 POA wasn't so frustrating until they started doing 37 points of articulation. And Christian says the worst is when they have multi-packs that have some figs pinless and others with, well, Christian, that's what we get right here. According to the render on the box, at least. Honestly, I don't mind it. I don't like, I would probably be pickier if I was a toy photographer and if I had to try to hide pins and hide joints and stuff like that. Um, but I'm you know, I take pictures of toys, but I'm not a toy photographer, so it doesn't bother me. The Mortal Kombat Joker looks pretty dope. Yeah, I that's like look, let's be honest. There's a lot of really great DC figures.
Yeah.
Um, but they don't hit me as hard. They don't have the same draw. And for me, it's like DC's weird for me because I was always a Marvel guy. I was always an X-Men guy. So like I was kind of reading X-Men continuously, but I get like Death of Superman or Nightfall or a Green Lantern story arc or miniseries or whatever, and I'd kind of pick and choose random bits and pieces, random issues like a great cover or a crossover or something like that. So for me, like I don't need Green Lantern. I don't need Batman, but if I was gonna get a Batman, I would want, the Nightfall Batman specifically, or I would want, the Death of Superman, that look specifically.
Hmm.
Um, so it's easy because they never quite hit for me, and I'm not actively reading DC. Like I literally, my pull list has literally zero DC on it. Um, although this was one that I was close. Christian also mentioned that Swamp Thing figure, that McFarlane Swamp Thing figure that's like 9 inches tall.
Yeah, I got it.
Um, honestly, if that was 7 inches tall, like if it was smaller but still scaled bigger than other things, like I'd get it for like Mythic Legions. But again, because I don't have a McFarlane DC shelf. I don't have, so he looks incredibly huge compared to most other things that I collect,
Mhm.
because most of the other stuff is like 6 inches. And then that 9 inches just like towers over everything else.
Yeah,
And
but that
that's,
works for Swamp Thing.
it does to a point. I mean, I have all the Alan Moore Swamp Thing trade paperbacks over there, so that's kind of my Swamp Thing.
Hmm.
And that Swamp Thing's not that huge. Like he'd be like 7 feet, so to me that's 7-ish inches in a 6 inch scale.
Yeah.
McFarlane, of course, is a 7 inch scale, so like the 9 is not that far from like, you know, but it's also a slightly different version. Like it's not quite the look of the Alan Moore era Swamp Thing. That Swamp Thing was a little bit wider, a
Yeah.
little less tall. This one's like really tall, quite slender. Still looks fantastic, and I'm not gonna lie, I was very very close to getting it on a number of occasions. When they did that exclusive one too, with like the antlers almost.
That's the one I have.
Yeah, that one's dope. But again, it was easy enough to pass because I'm just not doing DC. And as long as I don't get one, you know how this works. As long as I don't get one, I'm okay.
I am the worst example of that. Like, just my Storm Collectibles collection has been
Yes,
within a span of 6 months. I was openly commenting, I will not collect Storm because
mm-hmm,
I know what will happen.
mm-hmm.
I was right.
No one disagreed with you. Facebook user says I would trade Captain America and Iron Man for Lobo to come to Marvel. Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. If Marvel Legends released some of these figures, I'd be like, well, I mean it's a Marvel Legends now, so it's not
I
a DC thing.
got the Storm Collectibles, Lobo.
Yeah. Lobo's again. I had a few Lobo comics because he was just so outrageous. And as like a teenager, he had the same effect as like Deadpool, I think, right? Like where he
Yeah.
was just absurd and obnoxious, and but then again, Deadpool was in Marvel, so I didn't really need to go too deep on
It's
Lobo.
funny growing up with the like comic book wise, I preferred Marvel, but in
Mhm.
terms of media, I preferred DC because I grew up with Batman animated series, Superman
Yep,
animated series, and
yep,
Justice League Unlimited.
yep.
So in my core, I still prefer DC.
Uh-huh.
In terms of movies, Marvel is just way better.
Mhm.
Regardless of what you think about the current Marvel brand, it's just better than all the DC movies. But in my core, I'm still a DC boy.
The I mean, the DC one's right out of the gate. Like you look at Batman, you know, Batman Returns were they. I mean, they kind of opened the door in a
Oh,
lot of
for
ways
sure.
for those, and I would say Ninja Turtles, the original Ninja Turtles movie, and then Secret of the Ooze as well. Um, though Batman and Ninja Turtles, I think opened up the floodgates, as they are now, right? Like
Mhm.
it's they kind of proved that you could do it, um, with properties that were like hot and properties that were popular. But at the time, well, at least my understanding is that people were like, they're comic books, though. People won't go to the movies to see comic book movies, but
Yeah.
they were very much proven wrong. Um, what else you got? You get anything else?
Yeah, I got one last one here, and it's funny because I already owned this figure, at least the first version of it, but I was
Classic.
still very excited about it. It wasn't classic; it was figure arts, but
No, I mean it's classic of you to upgrade a figure that
oh,
you
of
already
course,
have.
yeah. But it's the new figure arts Boba Fett.
Hmm.
Um, this figure's incredible.
So
I,
you
I
have so you have like the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett, you mean, or you have
no,
two
I
versions
got the
at once?
what they call Mandalorian season 2 Boba
Right,
Fett was
right.
the first one in this aesthetic, and
Yes,
this is the Book of Boba
the
Fett
Book of Boba Fett. Yeah.
Boba Fett. And I was just kind of figuring, besides the obvious, this one came with a throne, and this one has like the front of the skirt gone.
Hmm.
Um, I thought it'd be mostly the same figure, but no, this is like it's retooled. This is better. The head sculpts are better. Um, People didn't like it at first because the promo pictures showed it off to be taller, and then when they got it, they're like, "Oh, it's just as tall as the other one." I'm like, "In what world was Boba Fett super tall?" like this is accurate. What is going
And in
on?
what world did he grow from one
Yeah.
figure to from one version of the figure to the next?
But yeah, it's incredible. They improved his jetpack. They improved uh a whole lot of stuff. My only gripe is his little arm cable things. They're a little scary. So like when you bend his arm, it resists. It really
Yeah.
resists. So
Hmm.
that's my only gripe of the figure. But otherwise, it looks great. And on top of that, of course, since I'm a Boba Fett sucker, I also have the Mafex one on pre-order of the exact same version.
Now, do you get the Mandalorian stuff too, or just the Boba Fett stuff?
Mandalorian stuff too. Yeah.
So you have the Mafex, the two SH figure
I
arts, the.
don't have the Mafex one.
Mhm.
I have they did a reissue a while ago for one on pre-order, so I got the original Mafex pre-ordered. I have the new Mafex pre-ordered. I skipped on the first two figure arts Boba Fett's, not
Mhm.
Boba Fett's, Mandalorians because they were so finicky. Like you literally like you touch it and like his harness would fall off, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got the season 2 one because I'm like, screw it, I need a good import Boba Fett. I keep saying Boba Fett, Mandalorian. I mean, but it has the same issues where if you jerk him the wrong way, his harness falls off and gun
Mhm.
falls off.
Mhm.
But either way, looks great. I'm a sucker.
I mean, I don't go very deep on Star Wars stuff, and I've only done the Black Series stuff, but I think I have three Mandalorian figures.
Yeah,
Like I think I have two of the original armor and then one of the Beskar armor because it's just like, yeah,
yeah. I got
we're
Black Series. I got
we're
Vintage
such suckers.
Collection. I got the Razor Crest, HasLab. So cool.
Are you doing the Micro Galaxy or the Micro Action Fleet, whatever? What's it called? The small ships?
No,
No.
no. Did I ever tell you what I traded for that HasLab Razor Crest?
I think so. You traded Mike, right?
Yeah, I traded with Mike. He got my Adamon and Keltis, which was like,
Yeah.
oh, those were hard to let go.
Um, Captain Colonel Collector says that jetpack, holy moly. Um, Now the jetpack, why is Patty saying this about the jetpack? Is it like got articulation and stuff, or is it the deco? What about it is?
They completely revamped it. So it used to be it would just peg into the back and it was done. They now changed it where it actually has a back piece. So I compare it to like Iron Spider figure arts.
Mhm.
So it has a back piece there. and then this back piece pops off, but it's stiff. Like it's right on there. So like if this figure topples over, that jetpack's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm slowly sliding it off. So
So
there's
does
the
his
back.
back come off then? Like his
Yeah,
armor panel comes
yeah.
off?
His
Okay.
armor panel comes
Okay.
off. So you see,
Mm-hmm.
there's 3 peg holes. The only issue I have is when he comes with like little silver pieces would plug in there, and then you plug it back on his back, and then it's fully covered again. Just
Mm-hmm.
no jetpack. And the issue of that is if you drop one of those pieces, it's gone.
You're never gonna find it. Yeah.
You're never going to find it. But it makes it sits so much better. Like, I want to do a little test now. We're here. We're doing it live.
Let's do it. Facebook user says headless Django's kid.
There we go. So
So it's on there. That's
it is
yeah.
on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they thickened up the because the little thruster things articulated. The little peg
Mm-hmm.
used to be super
Mm-hmm.
small. I think they thickened it up. My original one, the previous version, it actually toppled over and it snapped off.
Yeah.
So
That's
I think they learned from that. On top of that, removable missile. He comes with another accessory where you can put like a flare, a fire effect on, and put the
yeah.
missile on top of that.
Yeah.
It's really well made.
For all the for all the really cool details and all the, like, he probably comes with 11 hands and all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff too, because he's figure arts. The only thing that figure arts seems to not quite understand is like tiny thin, like the peg that the hands go on and stuff is like, I'm always so nervous. I was actually monkeying around with this guy today, my Trunks figure, swapping hands. And every time you pop one of those hands off, you think it might be the last time that hand's
yeah.
coming, because that tiny little ball peg could snap off so easily. Christian McKinnon says, I picked up my first 112-30 Bloodshot. Great figure, but he is smaller than the other 112 lines I collect. Is this typical for 30 figures? I don't know. I don't have any 30 figures.
I
But I will
have
say,
sorry, I have a 3A figure, which I think is the same company.
yeah, I think 3A is the company, and then 30 is like a subline, I
Yeah,
think.
so and I had one of their 112 figures of like their unique IP, and same thing. It was smaller, and I just kind of chalk that up to being import. Like figure arts tend to be smaller and for their
Yeah,
quote 6-inch scale.
yeah. Well, that's the difference though, and you've hit it right on the head. Is that most, like, Hasbro stuff typically is 6-inch scale, which is technically, Black Series is pretty close to 112, but Marvel Legends and Classified is actually closer to like 110.
Mm-hmm.
So the scaling's actually not quite 112. 6-inch scale, it allows them to fudge that a little bit, but yeah, like figure arts typically is like 112. So they tend to scale a little bit smaller. And a lot of, like you said, a lot of the import brands, a lot of the Asian brands tend to be smaller because they tend to be truer to 112 scale.
Yeah.
From my experience, although I've never had 30, so I don't know. And Patty said, yeah, better design. Sergeant Slaughterhouse. Zazel says, yo, Joe, what is going on, Zazel? All right, I've got 2 more pickups, but one is sort of on my desk and one is behind me, and we will sort of get into more detail. This is the one where, well, Super 7 Ultimates Robin Hood, in all
Look at all
his,
that. Wow.
there's so much stuff in here, and there's so much glare coming off of all the lights that I got in here because it's dark outside, so I needed extra lights. But you almost get 2 figures. The biggest complaint that a lot of people had is that you don't get 2 full figures, that you have to kind of swap parts, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. And a lot of people are basically saying that this figure is no good. To them, I say, well, you're entitled to your own opinion. If you've tuned in before, you know that I have I have a very, very strong affinity for Disney's animated Robin Hood, and I absolutely love the characters. I love the design. Still love that movie. I said this before. This figure is going to have to be absolute garbage for me not to absolutely love it. Like it'll have to fall apart in my hands for me not to love the figure. Um, People have complained. Well, I've heard a bunch of the complaints that people have made, and some of them are fairly valid, and others, maybe less so. But this is a long way from the cardboard cutouts that I made with like some like water paints when I was 5 years old. A castle out of a cardboard box. Like this, I was saying on an earlier video, like it's kind of the same thing with like Dan Larson from Secret Galaxy talking about the Warduke figure, where like that's a figure that he's wanted like his whole life, and
Yeah.
so you know it by default he's saying that it's probably going to be his top figure of 2023 just because he's waited 30 years for it. So like the anticipation of that
Mhm.
figure is enough to like put it in his list, and potentially the top of his list. That's how I feel about this Robin Hood. Like I feel like it's been decades of me wanting this figure, like more than just about any other figure. Like articulated, posable Robin Hood Disney figures. I mean, I've already got Prince John. I've been sitting on Prince John. Not I haven't opened that one either. I'm going to open them together to get the full effect. I really hope that we get, Little John. I hope we get the Sheriff of Nottingham. I hope we get the Rhino Executioner and the hippos and like Maid Marian and the kid. I would love to get the kids too. Like I'd get all of them. That's like I didn't get the Fantasia Mickey. I didn't get Pinocchio. I didn't get anything else. But the Robin Hood, the Disney Robin Hood stuff, if they keep putting that stuff out, I will keep buying it, even if it's borderline garbage. Facebook user said toy collectors complain too much. I'm out of here. Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I mean it's different strokes for different folks. If that's sort of the way you see that figure, that's fine. I get it. I mean, not every figure is going to be for everybody, and it's a premium offering. Like it's not a cheap figure.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of people's argument was that it should have been better for the money, and that's fair. Um, I'm just happy that it exists, and that's like it'll be hard to remove that aspect of my enjoyment of that figure, I think. Um, do you have any more? That was your last one?
That's my last one.
Okay. My last one, and this is going to sort of lead us in, is of course the Sky Striker. I've got the Sky Striker as well as the two figures that sort of go with the Sky Striker. So I've got Ace and I've got Fail Safe, the new edition. Um, I very, very, very thankfully didn't have a lot of QC issues with mine. I know that some people had issues with the wings, in terms of like how they mounted, how you had to get them in, how they had to click in, and they were a little bit finicky. I did a live unboxing and it was equal parts anxiety and technical difficulties. Um, I was the internet was dropping and I was like panicking that I was gonna break the thing at the same time. So it was like that was the worst thing I ever had to make. But the product itself is fantastic. My biggest issue is that I don't know what decals to put on it. I'm struggling to decide which of the three decal sets. So that was sort of after I unboxed it, and I needed my like Dio workspace to unbox it because I just like it was my office table isn't big enough. I
Yeah.
couldn't get the right angle. Um, it's big. The box is really big. It's kind of bigger than I anticipated. Like you can see, like it's a big shelf filler. It takes up a lot of space. I'm not 100% certain, where it's gonna end up, but like I said, I have a couple spots that I could potentially put it. Um, but it is an improvement over the original in every way that I can possibly think of. The mechanism of the wings and the landing gear operating separately is phenomenal. That drove me crazy about the original. Um, it's it feels really solid, and like I don't feel anxiety moving the mechanisms like I did with the original. So I had an original, and as soon as I backed this, I sold it. I was like, I don't want this one anymore. I was always worried it was going to break because it was 30-year-old plastic. Even if they had done the exact same thing but 30 years newer, I probably still would have gotten it. But this is a marked improvement in my opinion. I know a few people watching um, got Skystrikers. Um, Larry Larry says, "Guess Adam is buying two more." I actually bought two. Um, I'm I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm deciding what to keep from the two and what to sell off. I'm not going to keep all of it. I'm definitely going to sell the Cobra Commanders because I just don't. I know that somebody else will appreciate those Mickey Cobra Commanders on card more than I will. And then like at least the second set of figures I'm going to sell. I'm just on the fence whether I'm going to sell the second Sky Striker or not, because I'll be perfectly honest, that scale, the O-ring GI Joes, I just don't, I don't play with them as much. They don't end up on my desk as often as
Mhm.
Dragon Ball figures or Mythic Legions or GI Joe classified figures or whatever. Um, so in the way that I've sort of talked about, like that cycle of making more room and sort of freeing up some assets, and some cash for new stuff. I'm just delaying the inevitable sort of sale of my at least a lot of my my vintage GI Joe stuff. And if I'm selling all that stuff off, it doesn't make sense to me to keep two of these. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but we'll see. But in the meantime, I'm having a lot of fun with this. I'm gonna I grab it and show you. So my QC issue, and I don't know how well this is gonna show up or not show up, is that the bubble for this is like not even close to where it's supposed to be.
Oh.
Uh, like this bubble is good, and this one is not. So like look at this one. Okay, so the edge of the bubble is like on the edge of the card, right? And
Yeah.
there's no red showing. Um and then this one, the edge of the bubble is like past the red. Like it's crooked. It's not even straight. It's anyway. It's so that's I mean, but here's the thing. If I'm gonna open this, it doesn't matter anyway. So I've heard people with QC issues with the figures. Hasbro's been like, okay, you send back the one that you got, and we'll send you a new one. I don't know that that's something that's worth sending back.
Yeah, it
Uh,
seems like more of a hassle.
yeah, exactly. And then if I'm just gonna open it, like, what difference where the bubble? Like, it doesn't matter. They come with these cool the seats come out and they come with these cool little sort of blast effects, like they're shooting out of the Sky Striker itself, and they're actually they're keyed, so like they go in a particular way.
Oh, cool.
And then the top is keyed, and then the seat is keyed. So like everything, like the attention to detail in that respect is really, really, really good. And the parachutes are in the back. The parachutes are, of course, fabric this time, so they're not that sort of flimsy, crappy plastic that's just degrading day after day after day until 30 years on. They're incredibly rare because people use them. But I intend to use this one. If not today, the next weekend, I'm gonna be throwing these off my balcony to test the parachute, because they're just tabbed. Well, I won't bother doing it. I'll save it for later. But like the back is just tabbed in, and then the parachute is just tucked in there nice. So my biggest concern is that I'll forget how to fold it back up because I'll just get too excited and like unfold it. But yeah, really, really great stuff. Fun packaging, tons of like bits and pieces, accessories. And like I said, my biggest concern is deciding which decal set. And I've actually got the decal sets here. So this is kind of like the standard decal set. So the Skystriker symbol is that, and that usually was on the gray tail fins. They got gray tail fins in the box and black ones, so that you can. So the gray ones were what you got in the box on the OG, but on the box was a black tail fin. So there was like a discrepancy between what was in the box and what was on the box. So they shipped this one with both, and plenty of decals so that you can put tail decals, whether you do the original Skystriker or some of these other ones. Northrop Grumman, which is the company that manufactures the I keep saying the F-14, but I could be wrong. The Skystriker is based on the F-14, which is a plane that they made. This version of the Skystriker is a little bit more accurate to the actual plane. But then you get the the Skystriker decals, and then you get all the no step, no lift, walkway decal, like all the original decals, all this sort of stuff that you would see on a plane. And then more tail fin decals with the Tomcat. It's the F-14 Tomcat, so that's where you get that from. And then some numbers, and then you get names and things like that. So some of this doesn't show up. Like on all of these, I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but it's like different names that you can put on the cockpits.
Oh, cool.
Canopies down here as well. And there are 2 cockpit canopies, so you can put alternate decals. So if you want to have 2 different flight crews, or if you have 2, if you're actually building out and putting decals on 2, you can have different decals for 2 of them. So and then there was sort of the alternate of the Cobra decals. So there's you can do it as a Cobra Skystriker as well. Which I think is pretty cool, because I know of a lot of people that sort of lean more towards Cobra than they do GI Joe. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could put Cobra decals on a Skystriker. I just don't think it would. It would just be weird. Feel weird. It would. It just wouldn't. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work for me, at least. But yeah, that was so. A lot of people got the Skystriker this week, or sort of last. Christian saying, I waited all day on Friday for FedEx to deliver the Skystriker, but they never came. Tracking just says delivery date unavailable. Dreading coming home tomorrow to a missed you sticker on the door. The good news, Christian, is that these are being delivered with a signature required, so at least they won't leave it on your porch. I have heard that a lot of people in Canada got that, where but I think that's a FedEx thing in Canada, where they have this weird, like, they'll tell you when it gets shipped, it'll say like, oh, the delivery date is Monday, and on Wednesday they'll go, oh, good news, it's going to be there early. It's going to be there on Friday, and then on Thursday there's no change, and then on Friday it says delivery date unavailable, and they're just going to deliver it on Monday like they said they were going to, at the beginning. Like, it's just this weird game where I don't know if they're like trying to like appease people, because we kind of live in this world where, like, if I didn't get it yesterday, it feels like it's late, and the idea that it would be on time is late. I want it, a day or 2 before it's supposed to get here. We all have that. Oh no, we were talking about this before. You're saying how you have a package that is in Victoria, but it arrived in Victoria too late to get to your house on Friday, and it's just like it's the terror of knowing that it's so close and so far at the same time. Tyler says, I am not putting Cobra decals on mine either, because I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Rattler HasLab. That's a good point too. That's part of the trouble that I'm having right now with this Skystriker, if I'm being perfectly honest, is if they do another 3 3/4 inch O-ring HasLab, will I back it? And the answer is, at the moment, I don't know. I would lean towards no, because I'm kind of moving away from that scale, just because of space, more than anything. Would I love to see a Rattler or a Night Raven or something like that to go with this Skystriker? Yeah, absolutely. But if it came down to like, okay, you can either keep the Skystriker and we're going to release another O-ring vehicle to sort of balance that, or you can keep the his tank and we're going to have another HasLab to balance that, but you can only do one. I would go 6-inch scale in a heartbeat. Like that's not a hard question. If it was like you can only you're only allowed to back one scale, it would be 6-inch, which makes me think that I probably don't need multiple Sky Strikers, and I don't need vintage figures and so on and so forth. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's this inner turmoil. It's this like this sort of every week I have to get one step closer to kind of getting rid of this stuff. And I know that once I do, I will feel a weight off my shoulders, unburdened by this line that like I've gotten everything that they've done for the like retro re-release O-ring stuff. I haven't opened any of it. Because so much of it is like figures that I already have in the vintage line, right? So that's another thing that I'm sort of going through. My inner turmoil is also like, do I just purge all the vintage stuff and keep 10 of those figures or 12 of those figures as a reference point, and then just build on the new stuff? That's option C in my sort of list of options or whatever. Keep everything is option A, sell everything is option B. Option C is like find a happy medium where I can hold on to some stuff but not get too cluttered with, because at that scale you get more vehicles too, and I've got the headquarters, I've got the tactical battle platform, I've got a Conquest, I've got a Night Raven, I've got a bunch of vehicles, like good vehicles, like I've got a Stun with like really nice flags intact. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But if you don't worry about it. But there's just so much of that stuff where it's like, I know that if I ever had to replace it, it would cost me a ton more than I paid for it to get it this time around. I just have to get to the point where I realize that I'm not ever going to replace it. That's the hard thing for me, is that like once I do sell this stuff off, I know that I'm not going back to that well. I know that classified is much more interesting to me, and I would probably not return to the 3 3/4 inch scale, which is kind of sad. It's like that's the hard part of the therapy, is like coming to terms emotionally with what is a more accurate representation of my childhood, I guess.
Well, it's funny that you say that, and I know we're going to try to move on from show and tell, but one thing I forgot to show off was the vintage collection not Shea Vizsla, Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan, yeah.
Yeah, and again, I was like, I mostly collect 6-inch, but I'll get the odd vintage collection thing here and there. This figure is so good. Like they finally fixed the hips and all that, where you don't have to like rotate them awkwardly to move them back and forth or left and right. Now I'm like, maybe I should just collect smaller scale now. At least for Star Wars.
I mean, vintage collection seemed dead in the water a couple years ago, and people were, fans were, politely and impolitely shouting, as loud as they possibly could, that they wanted more vintage collection figures. It was, that was the scale of the original stuff, and so they wanted it because it was more true to that scale, to the line, to the brand, I guess. Plus, then you can get vehicles, and that's another thing. Like with O-ring figures, the chances of getting more vehicles is much higher.
Oh, much.
Let's be objective about it. Like space wise, this Skystriker's big, but the his tank is going to be the same size as this. Like the his tank's going to take up a whole shelf too. You're not going to get a classified Skystriker. Jeremy was in the comments there before. We're not going to get a 6-inch Skystriker. We're not going to get a 6-inch Night Raven. There's sort of a threshold where it just doesn't make sense because people just don't have room for this stuff, right?
Yeah.
They're never going to do the USS Flag ever again because most people don't have the luxury of, you know, middle class suburban home in the 80s that had, you know, a big rec room that you could put a sky strike or a flag in. A lot more people live in smaller spaces, right? Where, you know, whether it be a condo or a, you know, townhouse or just a smaller home, um, prices are going up. Space is a premium, and you know, a rattler in a 6-inch scale, not going to happen. A rattler in a O-ring kind of retro, I mean, there again, just like the Skystriker is an improvement in every way. Like where they took the OG Skystriker and just went, okay, what doesn't work on this? You know, the landing gear and the wings being connected, the canopy having issues. Like there's two parts to the canopy on here, and it just looks better and it functions better, and it's just better. I think of the Rattler, like the landing gear being really, really brittle and fragile in the vintage ones, the canopies being kind of too small, but the possibility to kind of rework those and kind of reconfigure it a little bit, make it a little bit bigger, so that figures fit a little bit better, like stuff like that. Like, oh man, it'd be cool to have that. It'd be fun to have that. But if it was either a Rattler in an O-ring scale or, you know, a Vamp in a classified scale, I know what I would back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just jumping into the comments here. AI says vintage seems to be where the engineering is focused on right now. Hasbro is improving it, where Black Series is still stuck in 2015. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Is that they do, and that was sort of what I was alluding to. Is that like the vintage collection now seems to be the line that's getting more improvement, you know, from wave to wave. Like, and I've heard that not just from you, Austin, but from a lot of people that like the figures coming out in the vintage collection right now are like some of the best 4-inch scaled figures they've ever had.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean Hasbro, like they're really, really well engineered
Like
4-inch
yeah, like
figures.
this is just incredible. Like literally just in a second, pose looks natural,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you can't see on camera, but boom, holding the pose.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Which is something, you know, like that I got into the 6-inch scale because you could get the articulation, you could get them to pose particular ways that you couldn't get smaller, you know, figures with less articulation to do. But they've now kind of managed in this era where everything is like 3D modeled and the engineering is so much better. They're effectively just able to kind of make something and shrink it down much more
Mhm.
effectively than they ever were. You, you know, I'm saying like, oh, I'm always going to be doing 6-inch stuff. 10 years from now, who knows? Um, Gura's PC Glass makes a very good point. Says the toy community doesn't discuss the space storage issue enough, in my opinion. It's a huge deal for most, and it's changing how we collect. More selective due to limited space. I completely agree. Um, Most people that I know, most collectors that I know, yeah, money is a thing, right? Money, everybody has, you know, a budget, and we can't just buy everything that we want all the time. But you know, as most collectors know, you'll always find a way, right? You can always sell something to buy another thing, or work it out in the budget, right? You can cut out lunch or whatever. You can turn your thermostat down, you know, you can cancel your Netflix subscription or whatever the case may be. You know, you can always kind of find a few bucks to grab something. Space is different. Um, there's a lot of people that, you know, have like storage units full of toys, and I've said this before, I'm sort of, this is one big thing for me, is that I do have some kind of storage, like I've got some, you know, some bins with toys in them, um but not on the level that a lot of people do. And my rule is sort of like, as an example, like my vintage GI Joe headquarters is in a bin, because it makes more sense to have it in a bin because it's really hard to display,
Mhm.
because the play value in that is being able to access it from most sides. So you got to play with it on the floor, which means, you know, either in my office on the floor here or in the basement, whatever. But we pull it out to sort of play with it and set up all the vehicles around it and stuff like that. So that I'm happy keeping in a bin. I don't have an issue with that. But when people have bins and bins and bins of like Marvel Legends or Black Series figures or whatever, it's odd to me because it's sort of like if you have enough display space for 10 figures, you could just have 10 figures and you'd not be the wiser, right? But
Yeah.
but people are like, I'm gonna have to find more room for more bins for more stuff that I'm putting in storage, and I'm kind of like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Like that's like you're paying to just keep this stuff, and in a lot of cases, like it never comes out, right?
Yeah.
So I keep sort of advocating the idea that like if you don't make space for it in your display, every 6 months or every year or whatever, like if it doesn't get rotated into this, what's the difference of owning it or not?
Hmm.
And I think, yeah, like space danger is the biggest thing. Space is limited. You can't just make more space. I can't just make more wall space, right? My wall space is fixed. There's no like, oh well, if I just expand this room, like that doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. But yeah, that's a weird one. And I'm not moving anytime soon. So the space that but that's a very good point. I completely agree with that point. Lucasfilm prevents Hasbro from doing double joint articulations, according to Robo from Fwoosh. He discussed that today. Oh, I didn't know that. I wonder why. I wonder if it's something to do with the sculpts, and I wonder if it's something to do with agreements that they have with like other licenses, because like the figure arts ones have double joints,
Hmm.
because that's what figure arts does.
Well, am I? Oh no, I guess Black Series doesn't have double jointed elbows, do
No,
they?
I just realized that too. Like I hadn't really thought of it because they pose
I
pretty well.
Yeah, I never thought about like because I'm like, no, they have double joints. They have it, but I think they only have it in their knees. They don't. I got a Han Solo figure somewhere on the floor. There we go. I got Jackson. Here. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just looked at my somewhat limited Black Series collection, and it's all single jointed elbows.
It's funny how I've never noticed that before.
I've never even thought of that before.
Which
But I
goes to
went,
show how little it bothers me because I've
yeah,
never
exactly,
noticed.
exactly. And my favorite sort of design or sort of version, I guess, of Luke Skywalker is the Bespin lightsaber battle. That kind of beige suit. I just looked at it and realized that he has single jointed elbows and then double jointed pinned knees. And
Yep.
like, two things that we're talking about that I just completely blanked on. I didn't even sort of realize or think of it. So, um, anyway, Tyler says, I have a full storage unit with toys because I have to. I'm in townhouse in Vancouver, just no room. It's tough, but I hold on to hope that this year I'll get that man cave. Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, I'm kind of in my forever home, if you will. So these toys are in their forever home. Um, but still, I'm not like, I don't have a garage full of toys. Like all my toys are basically in this office, and that's my threshold. There's a little bit of a buffer. Like I said, I got a couple bins of GI Joe stuff. Um, that gets pulled out and played with in the basement, so it's in the basement. But other than that, like I try not to go too far with it. And Toon Doctor says same for Indiana Jones. So same. So yeah, Lucasfilm kind of setting the rules, I guess, with Hasbro, which I'm
So
okay
weird.
with. Like I said, they pose well enough that
Yeah.
I've never noticed. So I guess if I haven't noticed, it's not that big of a deal.
It only bothers me if it's like a super expensive figure because you kind of expect the best of the best. But even
Yeah,
then, single joints depending on the figure tend to work fine. Like
yeah.
if it gets past 90, I'm usually happy, even if it's just slightly past 90.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, let's move on to the reveal, shall we?
Yeah, that was
I
a
just
hour long show and tell.
yes. A little bit out of nowhere, but not entirely, because we were talking before we went live that they did do this last January. They did reveal some digital renders. I think we got Stalker, Zaymot, Tomax, like that wave was revealed in January, and then came out very shortly after. And I say that, just keep that thought in the back of your mind that we did get We did get the pre-orders for these. When we got figures revealed last January, we got physical reveals, I think, and pre-orders in February. So it was a pretty short turnaround last year. We will see, I guess, how quick the turnaround is this year for these. But the reveals that we got this time around for Yojo January, as I'm calling it, because why not? They didn't really call it anything else. Were Snow Job, which is a deluxe figure, and deluxe would put him in the category of like Kamakura or Sergeant Slaughter, so in that kind of $40 to $50 Canadian. Scrap Iron with his really cool kind of rocket launcher and a bunch of blast effects. He's been listed as like figure with animal, so he should be in that same price range as like Snake Eyes with Timber or Crocmaster and Fiona.
Yep.
Then we got the Steel Core 2-pack, a male and female Steel Core figures, obviously based off of Vintage Steel Battalion, Steel Brigade, although I think I've heard people kind of refer to them or say that they might have done them as Steel Battalion, because of course Valaverse has Steel Brigade. And the Televiper with Trouble Bubble, which I believe and I suspect will be like the vehicle packs. So the ram cycle or coil, as far as price point, as far as size of the box, all that kind of stuff. Which of these four is your favorite reveal, Austin?
Scrap Iron, easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because I have an attachment to like the 3 3/4 inch figure. I'm not even talking about like the O-ring figures. I'm talking about like 25th anniversary.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was super cool then.
Uh-huh.
To me, that's the obvious one. Snow Job, also really cool, but in terms of like my toy photography, he's of course extremely limited to what I can do with him.
Uh-huh.
And the other
But
ones, I just have no real attachment to. I think they'd be really
sure.
cool if I find them. Great. If not, that'll be okay.
Uh-huh. I want all of these. Which is somewhat ironic because when I've talked about Snow Job, I've said I don't really care about Snow Job because of the Arctic thing. I still need Snow Serpents. Like now that we have Snow Job, I needed Snow Serpents because I don't like to have a specialized figure that can't work with a Cobra counterpart. I'll probably end up getting 2 or 3 Snow Jobs so that I can swap heads and swap parts and have sort of like an Arctic Storm Shadow and sort of an Arctic Duke and sort of have a little team. I would love for there to be an Arctic female figure at some point too, where I can kind of do the same thing. The Scrap Iron, I think, is probably the winner in my opinion in terms of like the best of the reveals.
Yeah.
The steel brigade, steel battalion, steel corps, whatever you want to call it, these sort of troop builder figures, I think they look fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I realize that I don't have it and I'm not going to try to find it, but comparing this to like the vintage, it looks spot on, minus the weird little shoulder pads that it has. And the shoulder pads, I'm hoping that they'll come off. The reason I say that is because I'm pretty sure that this is from the neck to the boots, Firefly.
Yeah.
Different boots, different head. Incredible reuse of the movie Scarlet torso.
Oh, yeah.
With that the high collar was what I instantly was like, wait a minute, I know that figure. But great reuse of that. I'm always happy to get female figures in the line. I'm gonna get a couple of these 2-packs for sure, and head swaps and use the parts and stuff like that. I personally love the vintage Steel Brigade, and I'm very, very happy to get these. So I know why they did it, but the Televiper, the vintage Televiper has bare lower arms, and a bare neck. It's That's my issue with this figure, is that they painted it black so that they can do the head swaps.
Yeah.
That's the digital render. I mean, we'll see what the physical reveal looks like, and it might look better in person. But yeah, I think they all look fantastic. Um, and if they don't look fantastic, so be it. I'm still probably going to get a couple to get the trouble bubble. um, Now, the last thing, this sort of and this is just one that sort of I wanted to talk about, because I'm so excited that this is coming out. But this is sort of we'll sort of do this really quick and then tie up, because I think I feel like I'm risking it all by going this long already, without any interruptions from the internet. But I'll be very, very quick. The SH Figure Arts Gohan Beast figure, of course, from the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie. I guess this is a spoiler alert if you haven't watched the movie, but I mean, let's be honest. If you're a Dragon Ball fan and you haven't seen at least the images of this, it's that's on you. That's not on me. This figure looks awesome. I think it looks super, super fun. They've done a lot of really cool things here. Trying to find a good picture of it. This one's not bad. So the upper portion of his clothing, I think, is like soft rubber, so that the figure moves underneath it, and all the articulation is like underneath there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's not. This isn't just so they released like this version of Gohan a while ago.
Yep.
And he just has like the hard plastic and the articulation built in. But you can see he has like the torso cut there and the shoulder cut there. And those aren't on this figure. And that's the reason, is because it's actually like a soft plastic piece. So I'm really interested to see, what they do with that. The head looks so good. The blast effect looks really, really cool.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of faces. He also comes with the bonus face for that other Gohan if you've got that one. This Gohan figure, I wanted to mention this too. So this version of Gohan comes with this face sculpt for the other version of Gohan. There's additional parts coming with Gamma 1, Gamma 2, Pan. Like, all these figures are coming with additional parts for Gohan. I'm going to be so stocked for Gohan parts. I'm super excited about that.
It's at the point where it's like almost worth buying multiple of that Gohan there, just so you can have several different ones displayed.
Yeah. And then coming next month is, of course, Orange Piccolo, which I'm also super excited about. And then March 15th, the movie comes out, so I can't wait to get that on Blu-ray as well and watch that again. What are your thoughts on this? I know that you kind of dabble in the Dragon Ball figure art stuff. You gonna go for this or no?
So initially I went, yeah, I want it. Then I saw it was premium Bandai. I went, no, I'll pass. And then literally just now, when you point out that it's a soft rubber and the articulations underneath, has me very, very intrigued. So I know enough people in the States that have hooked me up with other things. I might get one of them to hook me up with this.
I'll throw this out there. Globalfreaks.com out of Spain has this listed for less than P Bandai does, and they ship national mail service.
I remember that, yeah.
For like, I think shipping is like $12.
That's probably the route I'll go then, because I think I remember looking at them a long time ago when I was really like actively collecting. I was looking at like Ginyu Force stuff. So I'll have to check them out again. Yeah, I think it looks great. I've been always, so is Tyler, my brother. He's very vocal about, we just hate premium Bandai, and it's just simply because they don't ship international. And it's like, especially so when you have what's easily the most iconic version of the character from the movie, and you make it exclusive, I get annoyed. I mean, I'm not, exclusives are exclusives. This is
want based, not need based. I'm always that guy.
Mhm.
But I just don't get it. Like, why wouldn't, like, at least Hasbro Pulse you can order cross border?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so odd that Bandai. So Bandai doesn't even have distribution in Canada. There's a company that distributes Bandai in Canada. Like, it would, it just boggles my mind that they make it so difficult for Canadian consumers specifically, because but like I said, you can order it from Spain, or you can order it from Japan, or you could order it from overpriced US retailers or whatever. But the fact that they won't ship this to Canada, it's just so random. I just
It's
don't get it.
bizarre.
I
And
wonder if
when you go to
it's a,
checkout and you read it, and I think it mentions like because of legal issues or something. And it's like, what does that mean? Like, I don't
but it doesn't make
understand.
sense that the licensing for the US is like the same for Canada, as far as I know, for a lot of the like for Dragon Ball. I think like Crunchyroll in the US has like distribution rights for it in Canada as well. So I don't know how it works. Like, I know that a lot of times like companies aren't legally allowed to ship over certain borders. But the weird thing is, like, P Bandai can't ship to me because of that, but Global Freaks can ship from Spain to me, or like all these companies that we mentioned in Japan can ship to me.
Yeah.
So what gives? Like, what's
Yeah,
like?
it's
It's
so
so
frustrating.
weird. But I'm super excited to get that. I'm super excited to get Orange Piccolo. I like Dragon Ball figures, man. I just get so excited about Dragon Ball figures. When that figure released, that's when I was right over back of my SH figure arts Dragon Ball shelf.
One thing I
Uh,
hope they do is because they've been doing oversized figures like the Namekian dragon.
mhm.
I would love to see the superhero movie Cell
The
as
Super
a
Max Cell.
yeah, as an oversized figure, because I actually think it'd be one of the few times where in that oversized scale he would actually fit.
Yeah,
Because when you look at Great Ape Vegeta,
yeah,
in terms of the scale of the other figures, it's way too small.
yes.
It's a huge figure, but in terms of the proper scale, it's way too small. It doesn't work, even because he comes with a little Goku crushing accessory.
Hmm.
Just comparing that to a figure arts figure, you go, yeah, this isn't right. But I
Hmm.
think if they did that cell in that scale, it would totally work.
Agreed. Completely agreed. Yeah. Well, Facebook user says Dragon Ball talk. Have a good weekend, guys. We're done. That was it. That's all I had for the week, and we're just at about an hour and a half, which is I always shoot for an hour, and we never get an hour. We're always more than that. Um, but I think this is a good place to sort of end off. I will mention this. I did get all this stuff that I revealed, apart from the Skystriker from Mike at eCollectibles. And I'm patiently waiting on a couple SH Figure Arts Dragon Ball figures from Mike now as well. The Goku, not Goku, sorry, the Trunks and Vegeta that they released, which are thankfully not P Bandai releases. So go hit ecollectibles.ca and get some of those figures ordered, or any of the ones that I've got here. Tons of good stuff. Like I said, there's the as Eddie always says, it's the golden age for toys, man.
Oh yeah.
Um, Anything else you want to add as we sign off here, Austin?
Nope, just usual plug. Average Guy Collects Instagram.
I'll put a link down in the description below as well. There's links down below for the highly articulated Facebook page, as well as the Instagram page, as well as a link to eCollectibles if you want to go check them out. It's been an absolute pleasure. Everybody in the chat, thank you for joining us. It's always fun to have you guys around and interact with you guys, because it usually makes us think of things or answers questions that we can't sort of readily recall. So thank you and appreciate that. If you want to, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification button. If this was the worst hour and a half of your life, you can't get it back, unfortunately, but you can give me a thumbs down, and I appreciate any and all feedback. Larry, okay, so before we went live, we said like there's probably news that we're not gonna think of because it's not toy lines that we are familiar with. And Larry, you got it. Transformers released last week were good too. They were, but we were kind of joking before the stream that like when we see those, we go, "That one's a cool color." I have no idea who that character is.
Yeah.
I just am not versed enough in Transformers to be commenting on them. Apart from saying, "Hey, this one looks cool." So I apologize, Larry, for my lack of knowledge and my lack of sort of reporting the latest and greatest news in the world of Transformers. The new movie looks fun. We'll when
Yeah.
that comes out, maybe that'll be a touching point for us. But anyways, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys all for joining. We'll see you again probably very, very soon for unboxings. I don't know when. Hit that notification button to find out, to get notified. But if nothing else, we will be back next Sunday. It'll be a little bit, it might be early. I might do 1 o'clock because Super Bowl is next week and we are having people over to watch the Super Bowl, which is at 3:30. So I got to be done at kind of 2:33 at the latest. So we'll see. Stay tuned. Again, hit the notifications to find out when that will be going on. But I usually try to post up sort of the notification of when we're going to go about a day in advance for the regular Sunday streams. So stay tuned for that. But thanks again, and until next time, bye bye.